Today, I'd like to continue our exploration of the document about the blessing of same-sex unions from the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, and also reflect on Pope Francis's recent statement about the decriminalization of homosexuality. The document holds that there is no discrimination intended towards same-sex couples. However, the refusal to bless the union is based on the nature of the sacrament of matrimony and the desire of the Church to make sure that there is no equating of the same-sex union with the sacrament of matrimony. And the real fear here, of course, is confusion. People say, well, you're blessing same-sex couples, you're having matrimony, what really is the difference here? Uh, it does, however, of course, when you look at it on face, have all the appearances of discrimination. The statement says there is no unjust discrimination intended. The problem, of course, is not with the intention of the Church, but how a statement is received by those who are listening to that statement. Uh, it does not send a welcoming message to those who are faithful Catholics who are involved in a same-sex union. So if you're involved in a same-sex union and you hear this statement that we cannot bless this union, you'll say, well, this isn't too welcoming. I mean, you want me to be part of the church and you don't want any discrimination. What are you doing to welcome me? How are you making me feel good about the Catholic Church, good that I want to be part of this church? If you're saying, well, you're not going to bless me. I mean, it seems to be a contradiction. The difference, of course, between a same-sex union and an opposite-sex union is clear to all. I mean, who would be confused by it? If somebody is married, somebody is in a same-sex union, you know that, it's a different relationship. I mean, it's opposite sex, same sex. The difference appears clear. Why would this create confusion? Is the response, again, in dialogue, just to respond to what the statement is saying and to have a dialogue, a discussion about it. The church is called, according to the document, to welcome persons with homosexual tendencies with respect and sensitivity. And you read that and say, oh, that's great. They want to welcome us with respect. They want to respect us. They want to welcome us with sensitivity. Beautiful. That's I like that. That's a good statement. However, how do you accomplish that respect and sensitivity? Respect and sensitivity can only be accomplished within a loving and genuine dialogue with the individuals involved. So if you're going to accept me, you have to be in dialogue with me. You have to be in discussion with me. You have to reach out to me. You have to be concerned with my opinion, not just your opinion, right? I mean, isn't respect a mutual thing? You say you want to respect me, but you don't listen to me. Are you really respecting me? I mean, it doesn't seem to be the case. This dialogue will be different for each of the same-sex couples as it is for opposite-sex couples. So same-sex couples have their own issues that they want to discuss with the church, and so do opposite-sex couples. I mean, they have maybe different issues, different concerns. So to be respectful is to be a listening church, what Pope Francis would call a synodal church, where we listen respectfully to one another, and we try to welcome one another and care for one another. That really is the whole essence of a synodal church. And so it will involve a genuine listening. And so the listening can't be just one way where you're making a statement and imposing it on us. That is not a true listening experience. That's really a statement and that's it. And, it's the end of the listening. Uh, and some will have a different understanding concerning teachings about sexuality. So the church has one teaching about sexuality, which in its own way is beautiful and wonderful and great and no issues with it. But there are different people who have different concerns and different feelings about their sexuality. And they certainly want those to be listened to and reverenced because they have their own path in terms of their own experiences of the sexual act and how sexuality has made them more loving and brought them together as a couple. The church's community and its pastors, according to the document, will know how to find the best ways to welcome those who are in same-sex unions consistent with church teaching. And this is really a very important part of this document, and I think a very important part of the approach of Pope Francis. And that is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to these, that the individual pastors, they're in dialogue with the couples. They're in dialogue with same-sex couples, opposite-sex couples. They should be, ideally, in dialogue with all, listening to all, caring for all, welcoming all, respecting all, which is the synodal approach that Pope Francis is embracing. And so different approaches then become possible. And it encourages really a full proclamation of the gospel and a consistency with the teachings of the church. So what you fully want to embrace is what the church is about, to love God and love neighbor, and to spread that love, to spread the gospel of love. And you want it to be consistent. And you want it, in some respects, to be individual and particular for the different couples. The proper analogy here would be with regard to the teaching of the church on divorce and remarriage. The approach that is outlined in Amoris Laetitia, the Pope's document where he addresses this, is one of what we would call accompaniment. And accompaniment is a very important term and concept in the papacy of Pope Francis. Those who are divorced and remarried without having received an annulment might be considered from an objective point of view not to be living in harmony with the teaching of the Catholic Church with regard to the sacrament of matrimony. So the Church always wants to be clear about the objective teaching. And so the objective teaching is that marriage is permanent, it's forever. But in terms of the subjective aspect as to how one understands this and lives this, again, there is room for understanding and especially accompaniment. On a pastoral level, those who minister with and to the divorced couples are encouraged to walk with them and to support them, to be with them, to get to know them, to befriend them, to respect them. That is extremely important. And so the analogy would be here the same with, same-sex unions, right? That we must accompany and walk with. Many times they do not see the need to get an annulment and feel on a subjective level in their conscience that they are living in harmony with the gospel. So we say to them, well, we want you to live in harmony with the gospel. And they say, I am, I'm following Jesus. I'm loving others. I'm doing works of charity. I'm caring for the poor. I'm feeding the hungry. I'm giving clothes to those who are naked. I'm sheltering the homeless. I'm doing all of the things that I feel are important in terms of the gospel and respecting life. I'm doing all of these things. And so to get an annulment, I just kind of don't want to go through that process. I don't see the need for it in my life. In a similar way, many same-sex couples who are either living together, who are legally married, feel on a subjective level in their conscience that they are living in harmony with the gospel. They say, hey, I'm living a wonderful life in harmony with the gospel. I'm following Jesus. I'm doing what Jesus would like me to do.